Female approval is meaningless. I want to talk about my journey with lust and how I came to the point where I decided to completely rid myself of it. So, I was a bit of a shy kid, and I remember when I was around 13 or 14 years old, I used to eat Cocoa Pops. They're like chocolate flavoured puffed rice for breakfast. And one day when the box of Cocoa Pops came home from the supermarket, there was this promotional CD in the packet. And back then I had myself a little Walkman, little portable CD player. And I remember pulling this CD out and playing it. And on that CD was one particular song where this woman was singing about seducing a young man and bringing him home to her house and having her way with him. And I remember the energy of that song was just so sensual and so sexual that as a 13 or 14-year-old kid, I was so turned on that I had to start playing with myself. And I think that was the first time that I'd done that. And this quickly turned into a habit, although I felt a lot of guilt about it. I was so thrilled by this experience of getting so turned on by this song. And after a while, this turned into a deeper interest in looking for this kind of material. And so one day when a friend of mine showed me some porn, should say corn, for the algo, I was immediately into it, and I was thrilled by it. I wanted more of it. And what I found was that whenever I felt anxious, frustrated, introverted, whenever I felt like something was not working out the way I wanted it to, I could go to these pornographic images that I had and play with myself. And for a few seconds I could feel this amazing release, this thrill. And so as I went to high school and developed an interest in girls, I remember really liking this one girl. And I could tell she liked me. But I had so much trouble talking to her without feeling awkward and anxious. I felt incapable of having a normal conversation with this particular girl. And that was extremely painful because I saw her every day. There was obviously something between us, but I was unable to do anything about it. And as time went on, I didn't become less interested in her. I became more interested in her. I had what felt like, to me, the experience of falling in love. I would think about her all the time. I was always aware of where she was when I was at school. It's just like I couldn't keep my mind off her. And as that experience repeated itself several times, I'd connect with someone, find this attraction, this spark, and then I'd try to build a relationship with her and maybe we'd do some stuff, but I had such a lack of self-confidence that it never really developed into anything meaningful. And I really feel that most of that was to do with this craving, this compulsive, obsessive behavior where I was fantasizing and relieving myself and doing these things in the background. And when it came to dealing with real women, I was pretty inept. In general, socially, I was very shy. That continued. Always had a lot of energy, but I was just very blocked when it came to being extroverted. So as time went on, I continued to seek the attention of women. And I would have more sexual experiences, more relationship experiences. But I feel like I never really recovered from that initial experience of being in love, but not being able to do anything about it. It's like I carried that wound with me as the years went on. And as I got older, I started to realize that this wound had actually come much earlier. This wound was actually stemming from the mother wound. I'm going to get into some dicey territory here, so put on your seatbelt. You see, when we are born, we are completely identified with our mother. Up until about the age of 3, you actually can't tell the difference between me and mum. you are psychologically one with your mother. Now I want you to think about this word, matrix. The word matrix is based on the word mater. I believe it's Greek, which means mother. And we've come to see and understand the matrix as this idea of the illusion. The simulation is another way of saying the matrix. Other ways that this thing has been described, especially in Hindu lore, is Maya, also means illusion. Lila, which means play, as in to play a game, or even to watch a play, theatrical. But the essence of what mater, mother, matrix is talking about is an illusion. Now, when we break from our mother, when we psychologically separate at that age of 3, we undergo a very deep kind of trauma. And what this trauma is essentially going from a state of feeling, in a lot of cases, not all cases, totally safe, totally cared for, totally provided for, totally nurtured, totally accepted and loved, totally at one. This primal state of being one with the feminine energy, that's where we come from. And then we separate. We undergo the process of individuation. We form our own separate ego. We take on the belief that poor little me is locked up inside this bag of skin and there's nothing else to it. And then we spend the rest of our lives trying to become one with the feminine again. Now for me, what this has looked like over the last few years has been going from one heartbreak to another. Each time hoping and believing that this was the one. And each time feeling trapped when I was with her, like I needed to break out and be with other women. We're living in a paradox, my brothers. We're living in a duality. And this duality has you on such a deep level that unless you start to realize this and change your mindset, you are destined to go to your grave trapped in this duality, this chasing, this striving and never arriving. Now the word matrix, mata, also is where we get our word for money. So if you think you've got it handled when it comes to women, then what about your money situation? What's your relationship like with money? Have you reached the point where you don't really care for it, but at the same time you've got an absolute abundance of it? If so, I'm very happy for you. But for 99% of us who don't have that situation, who don't have women totally dialed in our life, and when I say dialed in, I mean we don't have any attachment left to women, to lust, to craving. We're going to go a little deeper. Now, what I found with this paradox of being with a beautiful woman who I felt like I was in love with, that I wanted to spend my life with, while at the same time fantasizing about being with other women, feeling trapped, feeling like I had to go out and sleep with other women. Such a strong, strong impulse. And I found that the more corn I would watch, the more this intensified. I never fully dealt with that habit. It still had me deeply. I would still run to it whenever I'd be depressed or feeling trapped or feeling stuck, feeling anxious. It was my pressure valve. And the more I allowed my mind to be programmed by this portrayal of what sex is meant to be all about, the more I felt like I was missing out. And it got to the point where I started to build up this idea in my mind that I was meant to be polyamorous. I was meant to have multiple partners. And the more I bought into this, which was really based on an archetypal wound of separation from the feminine, the more attached I became to this idea that I had to have multiple women to be happy. And the more I sabotaged intimacy, until it got to the point where I met a beautiful woman. We fell in love. We went very deep together. By this time, due to my interest in sexuality, cultivation, spirituality, I developed a very high level of retention ability, meaning that I could have sex for hours and hours, and just go so deep and go to such beautiful places. But it still wasn't enough. And so when she found out that I was sleeping with other girls, I was honest with her and I said, this is the way I am. And if you want to be with me, I want to be with you, but you've got to understand that this is the way I am. And I thought I was so advanced. I thought I was so awake. I thought that I was so beyond red pill and beyond black pill and beyond blue pill, and I thought this is where it's at. It's about allowing myself to indulge my desires and not suppressing them. Being who I am. Being a man. Because men, we like to fuck. And so if I'm going to be true to myself, I need to allow myself to do that. And somehow she accepted that, which took me by surprise. I wasn't expecting her to say yes, but she wanted to keep seeing me. And so our relationship developed and we became more intimate. And there was this crossover point where it was like we couldn't go any deeper without her knowing that I was faithful to her. Because the truth was, I would feel these feelings of love for other women that I saw. And I told her that. I was very honest about that. But when we reached a certain point of intimacy, where our relationship really started to mean something, the energy shifted. And when I would tell her about these experiences, she began to withdraw. And at first I blamed her, projected more of my wounds onto her. And I thought, she just can't handle it. Maybe she's just not strong enough. But when I began to feel her pull away from me after the level of connection and closeness that we had begun to develop, I began to feel like something was very wrong. Now, in previous times when this had happened, I'd broken up with the girl I was with, I slept with someone else, she found out, she wanted me back. I thought that I could play on that jealousy, that instinct that females biologically have of wanting to be with the alpha male, wanting to be with the strongest, blah, 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 all the red pill rhetoric. And so, after telling her that I wasn't going to do that anymore, after observing that even with the promise of being faithful to her alone, she continued to withdraw from me, I thought, I know what I'll do. She's not giving me the love, the attention that I want. I'll sleep with someone else. That'll make me feel confident again. That'll make me feel like a man again. Can you see the seductive nature of lust? Can you see how it manipulates your mind, your emotions. My mind was poisoned by lust. And so I did the deed. I told her about it. And she didn't speak to me. When she finally spoke to me, she told me how angry she was. I could see how hurt she was. But after all that, she said that she still wanted to be with me. And I thought, I knew it. That's how it works, right? Treat them like, do what you want to do, be selfish, think of yourself first, and they'll pursue you. They'll want to be with you. And yes, we know to a degree this is true, but I'm talking on a deeper level here. I hope you can get that. From that time on, things just continued to spiral downwards, and then it reached the point where there was such a lack of communication and closeness, and I knew that it was coming to an end. And then finally she broke up with me. Now, I want you to realize that you've been played. I want you to realize that this seeking behavior, this dopamine addiction of seeking female validation, is a replacement for intimacy. At one point, you had your heart broken, probably at many points. But the primeval, archetypal, spiritual heartbreak, which comes before all of that, all of those relationship, physical 3D world heartbreaks, but expresses itself through them as a manifestation of what you hold inside. This is the root of what develops into lust, what develops into seeking female validation and attention. Which, by the way, just to address the title of this video, is utterly meaningless. Have you realized that yet? Have you realized that no matter how much attention you get from a female, you want more? If you get it from this one, you want it from that one. If you get it from both of them, you want it from those ones. If you had the rapt attention of all 4 billion women on this planet, it wouldn't be enough. You know it wouldn't be enough. You'd have to conquer another planet. Because it's the very nature of lust to never be satisfied. Desire means I do not have. You're craving intimacy. You know that deep down. You're craving love in the form of the feminine. Now you might say, okay, well let's go blue pill then. Let's be a good guy. Let's be a nice guy. Not even necessarily a nice guy. Let's be a man of integrity, of truth, of morals, of purpose, of dignity. Let's attract a beautiful, worthy woman who's also on that wavelength. A woman with virtues, like the times of the ancient Greeks. An upright, dignified, noble woman. Make her my wife. Spend my life with her. Be faithful till the end. I like your strategy, my friend. I do. I like the line of thinking. But have you considered that she could cheat on you? She could break up with you. She could die. In fact, she will die. And then where are you left? Even lifelong monogamy doesn't give you the security that you're looking for. Because yes, underneath even intimacy, there's a deeper need for security. We don't like to admit this as men, but we want the source, we want the essence, the Shakti, and we want to know that it's never going to go away. We want to possess it. We want to treasure it. The precious, the quintessence. This is what we're seeking through our lustful activity, through looking for female attention. If we get down enough layers, we'll realize what we want is the assurance, the guarantee that it's never going to go away. It's never going to change. But you and I both know that's impossible. In the form of a physical woman, what you are seeking, you cannot find in a woman. Do you get that? Now, at this point, you might feel emotionally triggered, if you haven't been triggered all the way through this video. And you might write this off as some spiritual bypassing bullshit, or you might just think I'm crazy. But what if I'm not? What if that gnawing discomfort in the pit of your stomach is telling you something? Maybe this is true. Maybe I can't find what I'm looking for, and to pretend that I can is the definition of madness. If I keep looking for it in the matrix. You will find no security here, my friend. You've already spent countless lifetimes looking for it here. That's why you're still here. But if you're open now to truth, truth, as beautiful and painful as it may be. You have a chance of finding what you're looking for. Can you accept even the idea that this attention-seeking, validation-seeking, lustful behavior is never going to give you what you want? This is why we go God mode. To break the hold of this idea, this subconscious, biological, multi-lifetime idea that you can get what you want from women. It's time to let that go, my friend. It's time to start fasting your heart from lustful fantasies, from seeking validation, from being motivated in any area of your life to be successful, whether it's creative expression, making money, advancing your career, with the underlying motivation that this is going to make you more powerful and therefore going to give you access to more or better women. This is a fool's game. And as you start to practice brahmacharya, God mode, and sublimate all of these desires, all of these ideas, fantasies, the spell is going to be broken from your mind. The hypnosis, the Maya, the matrix is going to crack. And you're going to start to realize that the Shakti, the feminine essence, is wrapped up inside your Muladhara, your root chakra, your tailbone, your coccyx. There lies the bounded up feminine energy in infinite supply, which will begin to unfurl itself and climb the path of ascension up the energy centers, purging you of years and maybe lifetimes of karma in the form of horrible, horrible negative feelings, vibrations and emotions, which will begin to manifest themselves in your body as an act of release, which is not a sign that something's wrong, but that something magnificent is taking place. Until the ascension is complete, the Shakti feminine essence reaches the top of your brain and activates Christ consciousness, a state which has been described as pure, infinite bliss. It's all within you, my friend. You are the sacred chalice, the holy grail, waiting to be filled with the blood of Christ. Do you see the significance of these metaphors that we've been taught now? the claustrum in the brain. Santa Claus, Santa Maria, Saint Mary climbs the chimney and enters Golgotha, Calvary, an area of the brain where it activates enlightenment. Once you've got it all, you don't need anything. You want women? Have all of the women. But have them from a place of utter non-attachment, because you are so completely and utterly filled from within that it just becomes play. It becomes what it is, Leela. And you are no longer enslaved. You are the king.